place where you would listen to this, or be here in an audience in front of me now. Again, we ask you, what is going on with you that would bring you to this place with me? If it is true that I represent that which is from the creative source, then it is also true that I know you. All the things that you have been taught about what you have considered to be God, not exactly right. The creative source of this universe, that is also of your galaxy, knows you. I know you. I know you well, because you're family. And that is how I'm going to speak to you this night. In this assemblage, and anyone who is listening, to say that the energy on this planet is shifting so fast that there are new things to tell you, updates on what we just told you. And this energy is not something you're going to necessarily see on the broadcast or on the net. It's energy you're going to see with you. Some of you will feel this and know it is happening. Others have not experienced it yet. All of you are on such a beautiful, unique path that nothing I say will be for all. Use spiritual logic. I am not here to give you a doctrine that is going to work for absolutely every single person here, because you, family, are all unique and different and on different levels and paths of awareness. There are some listening to this message who just tuned in to see if it's for them. Do you like the energy or do you not? Do you expect benevolent shift or do you not? We teach that it is here, new energy for you, for the planet, for the way everything works, especially for old souls, is here. I want to reveal to you some basics, some esoterics, some things you ought to know and hear about that maybe you didn't consider before. And all of them are positive, every single one. What is happening on the planet right now is spectacular when it comes to personal energy. In review, we have told you that even that which is changing in space around your solar system is making a difference. For it postures that which is the heliosphere, which speaks to the magnetic grid, which literally enables consciousness. We expected this. Your 2012 time corresponded with a new place your solar system is heading into around the galaxy. It was scheduled. Whether you were here or not, with free choice, it would have happened. But you're here. This begins to change, literally, the energy of the system you call your own, around your sun. The magnetics you call your own, around the planet, which is related, more than related, to an acceleration of consciousness and awareness. This energy is starting to wake you up, old soul. Old information. You've gone through some calibrations and recalibrations, not all, but some. There are those listening to my voice who needed to hear that. There's nothing wrong with you, dear one. I know the potential of who is listening to this message. It's beautiful. It's not fortune-telling. I know the potentials, for we see an overview that you cannot in your individual life. It's beautiful to see how these things are starting to mesh together and how seriously you're taking this new energy. I'm going to start with this. Are you a reader? Are you able to sit in front of another human being, and through whatever process you think you're doing, are you able then to help them by sensing their energy, or that which is around their energy, or their health perhaps, and give them a reading? Did you know what else is there? Did you put this together yet? Human beings want to put everything in a box. I am in the reader box, you will say. What are you doing? What is the process? How are you doing it? We have told you this before. You are a sensitive. And as a sensitive, you are literally sitting in their patterned Merkaba. That which is their flower of life, the geometry which makes up the patterning of that which is their Merkaba, is literally being seen, recognized, felt, and verbalized by you. Now, what else is there, dear reader, that you may be missing? You are sitting in the perfect spot because you're a sensitive. You're doing exactly what a healer does. Oh, but you're a reader. Better not be a healer. There's that box. I want you to step out of the box and understand there is one process for all. Reader, healer, past life, regressionist, you're all doing the same thing with the same tools. I want you to try and step out of the box. Reader, you're a healer. Now, some of you listening to this right now know I'm right, because you've been experiencing it, haven't you? You'll read something, you'll give advice, and they come back healed. You realize what you've done, healer? As a sensitive, this energy is expanding anything you thought you were doing. Healer, you're also a reader. You're also a past life regressionist. All of these things you may not want to hear. Learn about them. Understand what is also there, because you're in the same soup together. The Merkaba is the Merkaba. The patterns are the patterns. You're not just reading or healing. You have the ability as a sensitive to do it all. That's just one of many things that are starting to change from that which you were used to in the box to what's going on today. Things are expanding for you. There are those of you who started noticing something. You're not a reader, but you are. You're picking it up, aren't you? You've said certain things to certain people and their mouth dropped open. How could you know that? They'll say. How do you feel that? They would say. And you're doing it in normal, idle conversation. Are you ready to sit in the reader chair? Dear ones, it's not a reader chair. It's an intuitive chair. As a sensitive, you have marvelous abilities of helping those around you and humanity. Let me give you the big one. Without being a reader or a healer and just walking around with other human beings, you are being sensitive to what it is you can do to help them just by your compassion, the guidance you would have in idle conversation to make suggestions to your friends, to your children, to your mates. Closet reader. You're an old soul and it's beginning to show. How do we label something like this? I don't know. I don't know a word. It's never happened before. An acceleration of cooperation from the other side of the veil to you. We said something extremely controversial. It was in a city you called Austin. We started talking about clearing. We made the statement that that which you have done for centuries as light workers has started to shift. We told you you don't have to do manual physical clearing anymore. When you walk into a room, it is not necessary to tone or to smudge or to meditate in order to clear the energy of the room. This is controversial because the room has seen many dark things. It has seen all manner of dark human consciousness. You may be walking into it for the first time, and your very intuitive cells are saying, clear this room, so I will not step into the dark. And what we're saying to you right now, dear light worker, you're carrying a beacon of light that the dark will never penetrate. Period. It's new. You walk into the room carrying your light, and the dark runs from you. You clear it by your presence. How do you like that? Now I would like to alter that. It's not going to work, light worker, if you're going to carry crutches with you, just in case you don't have enough light. Now, do not misinterpret this. There are some of you who carry with you either psychologically or physically help so you won't get in trouble. Your favorite guardian angel, your favorite crystal, always with you so you won't get in trouble. By those actions, which are very common, very understandable, very logical in an old energy, by those actions you're telling your own cells, your own psyche, even your higher self, you don't trust your light. My light's pretty good, but I got my angel. You know, I got my crystal too. I dare you to get rid of both of them. I dare you. They integrate into you, dear ones. I want you to hold a ceremony. This is what's going to make you feel so much better. I want you to hold a ceremony of integration where you will integrate that which is your favorite anything into your own energy. If you're a healer and you just love Saint Germain, for instance, I want you to integrate this saint's powerful energy of violet flame into you. Your favorite crystal, you may have even named it. I know who's here. I want you to integrate it and stop carrying it. You're telling your body you're done with crutches because all that you needed before is in you. And you will step into these places more powerful than you've ever been before. Look at the common spiritual sense of what I'm saying. You've graduated, dear one. You now have the energy you ask for in an energy that supports that energy you ask for. Act like it. Claim it. Take it. And the dark will run from you. That's number 2. I would like to tell you something that's happening right now on this planet with old souls that we told you long ago would happen. This is a review, but it's not. The review would be that it's on its way. The update is that it's here. Years ago, we told you that there would come a day when the same remedy or process could be presented to many people, and only a few would get healed. They'd have the same biology, perhaps even the same gender, the same thing wrong with them, the same process, and only a few would be healed. This comes from years ago, a channeling about the future potential that you would have of healing yourself, and it's here. I spoke of this before many times. many times. But it's never been as profound as it is today. Again, I present to you that the consciousness of belief is needed for what you have as the next step in your life of self-healing, self-awareness, affirmation. Anything you are trying to accomplish right now, even synchronicity, you have got to align yourself with pure intent and believe it before it'll happen. I will continue on this subject and this review over and over in future channels so that many can hear it who are not hearing this one. The first step that you can take as you leave this room is cognizing what has happened. Believe it or not. The body picks up on this belief as an absolute. It's going to happen. It knows it's going to happen. As you start talking to innate, as you start perhaps decoding the cells, as you work with your own psyche, as you do your own affirmations, perhaps, or the processes that you have learned, the energy work that you've studied, or perhaps even sitting in front of a healer. If you have doubt, don't go. You're wasting your time. It's that profound, dear ones. Belief is the key. You must have it in this energy to move to these things and these new tools that we've talked about now for 26 years. Is this clear? This is consciousness, is it not? We have spoke of this in the past many times. It's not about actions. It's not how many times you do something. It's about your belief. Is it going to work or is it not? Sometimes this takes time. And over a period of time, belief solidifies into truth. The man who sits in the chair did not start out with 100% belief. It was more like 2. And every time he sat in the chair, he was given a cause and effect relationship that tweaked his interest as an engineer and problem solver. That was it. That's not a belief in things beyond. That's curiosity. And that became belief the more he did it, the more he saw the results of it. And the more he saw the results of it, he believed in the cause and effect relationship. He got to see it every time, 100%. He cognized it. Something's going to happen when I sit in the chair. That was step 1. That took 2 years. Then it started to happen over and over. He started to get messages. There was things he could not know delivered to him. He started to cognize that. In other words, accept it as his truth. Over a period of long experience, it comes to what you see today. When he sits in the chair, he knows, I'm going to be here. He knows it's going to be channel time. He looks forward to it. It's absolute and will be because of the love of spirit that he has taken in as his truth. What have you taken in as your truth? Possibility? Could be? Sounds nice? I know who's here. I know who's listening. This is a joy for me, for I'm able to tickle that which is your curiosity. To look at yourself, to know yourself, and to think to yourself, well, maybe I should be a little more positive about my truth. And it's going to make a difference. You see, I see potentials. I see the healings that have not happened yet. I get giddy in my chair for seeing the joy of some of you who don't know what's coming. Beautiful, positive, coming your way. I want you to feel it, dear ones. There is a cooperative energy that has never been here before. There is a reason why it's here. There's science behind it. We have given it to you. Science that is not yet seen as science. This cooperative energy, I'm going to tell you, is so profound, it begs you to try things again that didn't work before. I'll say it again because that's on somebody's mind here. Trying things again that did not work before. Now, what fool would try something when they know it doesn't work? One who knows that the energy has shifted from fool to awareness. Now you know the timing. Now you know the wind is at your back. You're starting to understand intuition on how to do some things that you were in the dark before about. There is a cooperative energy for light workers in particular. Light workers have something that others do not, and it's old soul experience. The more experience you've had on the planet, it's like a well of energy that comes up and supports your logic spiritually. Someone new on the planet would not be able to do what you're doing, only because they haven't had the experience yet that you have. Every single past life gives you information that now is starting to stack up, and you are being drawn to understand it. You are feeling wiser by the year because of this. Your discernment is starting to change because of this. You're starting to use spiritual logic and come to new aha experiences because of this. Your age doesn't matter. Disconnect the link between your chronological age and the spiritual age on this planet. There are young people here who know that they are very old souls. There are seniors here who also know they are as well. There is no linkage, dear one. There's a propensity to link it, but don't. Now, there's a reason why this is happening. And we have given you the ABCs of this reasoning. We've asked you to look at it and believe it. It's eye-rolling. When you pass this marker of 2012, you have opened energies called time capsules that were left here by your seed biology, the Pleiadians. We have identified the nulls and the nodes of this planet. You can find it easily. My partner has made it available. You know the pairings of 5 of them. You know where all of them are. They are slowly starting to open and pour into the grids of this planet tools that you need to enhance what you have. The bottom line is this: your consciousness is actually related to the magnetic grid of the planet. Now you know why I'm the magnetic master. This has been the plan all along, to expose this, that the planet physically is allied to you. The planet itself is one of your grids. We have told you that before. Gaia is alive with you and you with it. We've even told you that the cetaceans of the ocean are also aware of it. They are the storehouses for your Akash. How do you like that? It's in Gaia too. Now what this all means is that these time capsules open and pour information from the Pleiades in real time to the grids of this planet. It affects the speed of your awareness and progress. Fast track. Absolute fast track. If you've come in with a consciousness that things are the same, progression will be the same, learning will be the same, you're wrong. Some of you, I promise, are going to be overwhelmed with the speed. Some of you already are. Of this energy. I want you to be overwhelmed with tears. I want you to worry. There's nothing wrong with you. How much energy can you receive? You better put a stopper on it. You better tell Spirit how much you can take, because if you don't, we're just going to pour it at you until you yell uncle. That's a colloquialism from my partner. I have no idea what it means. This is good news, dear one. This is great news. We're starting to fill you up, if you'll allow us. Reader, are you ready to expand that box? What else is there to expand? You've got some accomplishments you want to do. You've got some things you'd like to change. It's in the works. Because the wind is at your back. Finally, I would like to tell you about compassionate action one more time. One of the keys to becoming accelerated, more wise, and to understand more about what you can do next, which will enhance what you're here for, is that you would become more compassionate in your life. This is old information. We have given you then since 2012, compassionate action is the key. Become more like the masters were. But you still don't get it. Your compassion, you're pouring out to a poor person, and you go home and hate a rich neighbor. I know who's here. I know who's listening. And you're comfortable with that, dear one? Selective compassion. You're comfortable with that? Is that what the masters of the planet did? Did they select who they were going to pour out their love to? Or did it matter to them? Every single human being is here for a reason with a puzzle. Every one of them. The ones you don't like, every one of them. The ones that are frustrating to you, every one of them. Can you look at them with a compassionate heart and see inside it? Why are they troubled? Why are they dysfunctional? Why are they the way they are? A prisoner has taken many lives. He's there forever. He'll never see freedom again. What he's done has been despicable, horrible. When you look at him, how do you feel? You feel sorry for him? And we're not talking about sorry. Can you look into him and see the compassion of his path and what he chose to do this time around, dysfunctional or not, and have compassion for his heart? He will never return it. He may be broken forever psychologically. He may never know you. What did the masters do? That's what they did. You look into the heart of those, no matter who they are, on the street or in your own family, and all you see is God. The face of God, just like with you, just like with you. And what they've done with it is their business, their process and their path. This kind of compassion is going to change your life. It's going to change the planet you walk on, and it's going to be the key to the success of the old soul. That's compassionate action. It's an update. Things we've never said before in this way. For you to hear again and again and again. Old souls, you're biased. You're used to the way things were. For lifetimes, It comes with the territory of being an old soul. Your Akash actually biases you with the way it used to be. Everything that comes forward in your Akash is old energy you. And yet you have to use it. We want you to use it. But we want you to shift it into the new energy you. All of this is doable. Many of you already are. That's the message. I told you to be positive. It is. Dear ones, we sit here and we see potentials based upon this wind at your back that you've never experienced before and you're about to experience. With pure intent and compassionate action, nothing can stop you. Expect benevolent change. Expect benevolent change. And so it is.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I would like to continue the subject of connection that was started today in the last channel that I did. There are so many questions that humans would have about this seemingly intangible idea of a creator, of God, of spirit, of a source that is beyond your imagination, but one that somehow you're directly connected to. Hard for you to believe, truly, that there is an entourage, if you want to call it anything, a group, if you wish, around each of you all of the time, and that group knows your name. How many times have we said the name is not the one you think? The name is of a soul group. The name is bigger even than you can imagine. The name itself exists in light. And the name is not an identifier. The name is a descriptor of magnificence and speaks of a soul group in this galaxy that belongs to Earth. If I could summarize that, I would say, God knows you. And this, dear ones, has to be realized or trained or somehow gotten across to most human beings. And the reason is common and obvious. And I will go into this yet again, the idea that humans have that everything around them that has intelligence echoes a human's intelligence. When you have a pet, and the pet cannot understand, of course, your language, but they understand your emotion. You talk to them as though they understand everything. You project humanism on the animal to make them feel better or whatever. The animal has no idea what you're doing, but they can feel the love that you have. Dear ones, that's the human looking down, but when the human looks up, we have told you before, an issue occurs. I'll call the issue God in a box. And the box is a human box that God exists in. For then the human projects everything that is human nature onto the Almighty. And God then is portrayed simply as a superhuman. But that human somehow has anger and disappointment and judgment, as well as love, of course. I've told you that every civilization on this planet has done the same thing. Yours has as well. I've also told you, you are number 5. You are also the civilization that would be present during the precession of the equinoxes and make the change. Other civilizations before yours have gone through similar things. We don't speak of that yet, because most humanity doesn't believe anything happened before them. Before the 6,000 or 7,000 years that you're told you've been here, when actually it's more like 50 to 60,000. Would it shock you if I told you that some of the inventions you have, the marginal ones, but important ones, such as electricity, was not only present early in your civilization, but in the civilizations before yours? And the reason, because it's easily discoverable. Nature produces it. And anyone watching and looking and interested with an inquiring mind will discover it eventually. So you're not the first. And it leads to things which I'll mention in just a moment. But what I want to tell you is that you still have a model for everything, and it's you. Communication is interesting with humanity. Let's talk only about your civilization and what happened when. It's so interesting. You think you're so technical. You are. What if I told you, however, that long before the telegraph or the radio or the telephone, you had a system of communicating at the speed of light 20 miles at a time? You may laugh. All they had to do was climb a mountain and give smoke signals to the next mountain. Communication at the speed of light 20 miles at a time. One mountain would talk to another, would talk to another, would talk to another. The language perhaps was a little rough. Not many words. But it was communication. It was needed. The dream of all humanity always was instant communication. In a very early time, if you wanted to send a message to someone you knew in a town or a village that was far away, the system was to write a note, get on an animal of some kind, and ride the animal to the next town. And that became the mail. Today you laugh at how slow that might have been, for sometimes you'd say hello in a letter, and 3 weeks later you'd get a hello back. And that was as good as it got. In your civilization, talking about the 1700s or so, along comes a system of electricity. You called it the telegraph, where you could start then sending messages through code, long distances. 100 years later, it led to radio. And then the inventions began. But suddenly you could talk, and those a continent away could hear it in real time. Some thought that was just about as good as it would ever get. Then you could do it with pictures. And now, dear ones, with simple devices you carry in your pocket, if you have the right equipment on the other side, you could talk to the planet, and they could all hear you at once. The secret, of course, is having the correct equipment, the correct connection, that which is needed in today's world with that which you call the net. wiring it to everyone so everyone would have the correct equipment. And now, finally, one human could talk to everyone and they could talk back. That's how far you've gone. But even today, you didn't extrapolate that technological improvement onto God. Do you realize that? You're still sending letters. Now you might say, well, wait a minute. That's not true. I can pray and I know God hears me. Yes, but dear ones, you've always felt it was one way. Because you never felt that God could hear you enough to give you an answer immediately. It was either passed down somehow or realized in some fashion or got dysfunctional somewhere along the way. I mean, the Greeks were doing it. They were sending messages through prayer to their gods who they made dysfunctional so they would be more human. In other words, it continues even today that who you are as humanity is then placed upon God. And this idea of God in the box is as follows. There's no technology yet high enough to have a real-time communication with Spirit or God, where you could have a back and forth message at the speed of light. It simply is not acceptable. Most of humanity has to go through some kind of an interloper that translates because they have the ability or the training or the gifts of being able to take your message and get it to Spirit and then have it come back in a certain way. We told you this morning that it gets even worse than that because it's often accompanied with steps of achievement or even funding in order for you to get a message, a connection to the creative source. Dear ones, this is truly understandable because this is the only model you have, and that model is yourself. And so if there's an almighty God someplace in a box somewhere, in order to get that place, wherever it is, there has to be all manner of things that you do in order to achieve that communication. We told you this morning that truly you've got the equipment already inside. And that communication is instant. You had that even when you were sending letters with animals and riders. You had that at the beginning, but you didn't understand it because you simply applied it to the way you communicate. What's interesting is as you got a communication that was as it is today, you didn't then update it and think, well, maybe the Creator has inventions as well. And even today, for most humanity, it is difficult to speak directly to the Creator. My message is this. We're going to continue just a short amount from the idea that you have and always have had the correct equipment and connection and net or whatever you want to say it in order to have 100% speed of light, connections beyond speed of light to the creative source, because the creative source knows you. Another interesting thing about mythology, spirituality that humans have, you have no trouble at all, truly, believing that God can hear every human being all at once through prayer. You, by the way, then put this on to a mythological creature that you have who can do the same thing, and that's Santa Claus. No matter who you are as a child, Santa can hear all of the requests at one time. Of course, you did also place the other thing on Santa Claus that you placed on the Creator. You better be good, or you don't get the present. You see where you go with this. You don't really go all the way. Even if you believe that you can communicate, there's still the idea, what does God think about it? Is it possible that spirit can be frustrated? The answer is no. That is a human emotion. Anger, no. That is a human emotion. Well, wait a minute, Kryon. You said that spirit can have compassion. Isn't that a human emotion? No, dear ones. That's a creator emotion that you get by being a human. Love, compassion, benevolence, beauty. What you studied today in coherence and putting things together, all is from the creative source. Humor, from the creative source. The creativity of music. The idea of harmonies causing emotional effects and sending you into coherence right from the creative source. And all the other emotions that you dream up or you have, dream up in that you paste them on the Creator, is something you have, not the Creator. Now, where am I going? Once you get to the place where you realize you don't have to climb stairs or go through someone else, that you can sit in your chair, magnificent, and say, Dear Spirit, I know you're with me. Dear Spirit, I know you're here. Dear Spirit, I expect benevolent things in my life, and things start changing. Once you get to that stage, dear ones, you simply threw the switch. Because from now on, you get real communication and results. Let me begin with just one or two things. God is not in a box. Let us say, for instance, you are a healer. And for so many years, you've had the gifts and the tools of healing. And let us say, for many years, there has been frustration because they either don't work well or they work too well or you cannot control them. And this would be because those gifts are a spectacular, advanced energy that most humans do not have. It even frustrated the shamans of old. That sometimes the healing occurred and sometimes it didn't, and that got them in trouble because those around them expected certain things in linearity, and that's not what the gift does. Let's say that's you. How do you think spirit reacts to this? What's really happening there? Let me tell you. You have an entourage around you. And every single one of those loves you dearly, knows your name, knows the soul that you are, and is watching you flounder. Because you think God's in a box. Even if you believe you can communicate, you don't think God cares enough to work with you on the issue. And in that sense, you might go a lifetime or decades with an entourage around you begging you, why don't you just ask and work this out? Because you are in communication. The line is open, the switch has been turned, and all you think is it's good enough to talk. You don't understand. It's good enough to resolve things that are multidimensional. It's good enough to change your life. But you've only gone to first base, as they say. You just threw the switch. Now you can talk. What if I told you this? That box you think God is in is inside you. Right now, to that healer, I will say this. You have the ability to work on this and design your gift. So all it creates is consistency, benevolence, beauty. That you can control the things that are beyond that which you thought were controllable because they were multidimensional gifts and others didn't have them. You thought they just were, didn't understand. You are the designer. They landed in your lap so you could design them. Imagine the cook somehow getting all the ingredients falling out of the sky. And there they are with all of the ingredients around them. And they're so frustrated that the ingredients don't make sense. And then suddenly somebody informs them, well, why don't you cook them? And they go, I can do that? And so the ingredients then become that which go into the meal, which then makes sense, and that is nourishing. But you never thought about cooking them. You never thought you were in control enough to design the pieces and the parts of the gifts you got. Every healer on the planet should know this. Not too long ago, we gave you a message that if you are a healer or you have any kind of gifts that are above that which you would call 3D or even 4D, that they're going to increase. That in this light-dark relationship, suddenly you're going to find yourself with an increased potential, and you're going to see things you never expected, double, triple, even more. Did it ever occur to you it might be nice to control them? Or are you just going to let them fly away? Or come out at any time? That's what would happen unless you understood the beauty of the design that you have around that which you have as a beautiful gift. Okay, Kryon, you got my attention. I'm a healer. Would you give me something practical? How do I design it? How do I cook the meal? Dear ones, you have got an open communication with an entourage who knows your name and sits there when you're asleep looking at you. I want you to have a communication. Dear entourage, dear spirit, thank you for these marvelous gifts. It's time for me to design them. Give me the intuition and the energy that I believe in that helps me to know what to do in order to suppress the things that need suppressing and release the things that need releasing and the timing of it. And I want you to repeat this as often as it takes for you to believe it. It really only takes one time, dear ones. You're heard right away. And then the process becomes this. You start to get the intuitions. And you start expecting them. Then they start to work. Then you want some more. Then you start expecting more. And it's a process. Like exercising a muscle that you practice and practice. And pretty soon you realize, with the help of the entourage around you and God that is not in a box, who has always been there waiting for you to ask, that it's working. It's working. Healers of this planet, if you're listening, I want to tell you something. You need to start designing what you have for the new energy. And when I say designing, I am talking about you with your gift, specifically having a pattern of benevolence and control that is sacred and belongs to you, so that you can walk into a place and know exactly how that gift is going to work. That's necessary. It's needed. And it won't work as long as you think that all you've done is thrown a switch and that God isn't looking. Spirit knows you so well. Whoever you are sitting in this group or listening to these words, I have news. That there is a pattern for each of you to help you drop the fear, to help you advance in things that you didn't think you could advance in, to get control of your biology. All of these things have your name on them. It's not too much for spirit, dear ones, to do this to millions at the same time. That's the spectacular energy of consciousness of God. Don't limit what you think is possible just because you don't believe you're in touch to that degree. You are. That's the invitation. If you think God is too far away to hear you, it's going to be an issue. But if you think you can whisper and be heard and loved by the eternal creative source, then you're on the right track. Dear Spirit, help me to shape my life in a way that's going to work because you know me better than me. My higher self, my soul on the other side of the veil, the entourage, whatever that is, I realize it's all there to help me right now on this planet during the shift. So that I can live longer, I can be peaceful, I can deal with the little problems that are coming along my way almost every day. And that I can design a reality that is beautiful for me, not for anybody else but me. That's the individualness of the beauty of the love of God. Are you getting this? Bigger than you think? In this light, easier than you think? But it's not that which you've been told. So for some of you, it's harder. For some of you, it's easier. But dear ones, for all of you, it's possible. This is the message, and will continue to be the message from this man in the chair. And so it is.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I use the expression that my partner steps aside. In the information given this day that I have channeled to my partner, you learn there are many parts of you. The part that steps aside, the corporeal survival brain, allows the portal that is the pineal, it is the intuitive part, to become bigger. Channeling is nothing more than a wide open intuition, allowing for a full stream of information in a non-linear way coming from source. Through the last 25 years, what my partner has been able to do is to linearize this through agreements and practice so that it sounds like we are coming to you normal human speech. Using my partner's intellect, his abilities to speak his language, his vocabulary, all of that, I want you to pay attention. Channeling uses the abilities of the human being. It is not supernatural. All channeling that has ever been accurate and true has come through a human being in this way. The highest scriptures of the planet written in this way, channeled, they are. The most wisdom that you've ever had from shamanic energies has been channeled in this way, using the human being's culture, experience, language, and the mechanics of their body. It is an honoring, therefore, of humanity that it is delivered in this way. Do you understand, dear ones, that if what you call God wanted to talk to you, really, in a way that would frighten you or show the magnificence of God, there are other ways. But that is not the way the benevolence works of the God that's inside of you. It always comes through a human being. It always comes through you. You might even say that synchronicity and co-creation is like mini channeling. You open enough to get the messages that you need for you at the time. And we have said this before. So what you hear today and what is being said today, coming through the human being today, even though he steps aside, is about you. We've gone through the lineage of what is happening on this planet so many times for you. The message today, I would like to tell you who it's for. Not just those in this room. The who being a generic whom. It is for those who've awakened spiritually to a point where they believe what they're hearing is true. Those who are interested in the God inside and have invested their time and effort and intent to find it. That's who this is for. And in the old soul category, that would then include you. Not all old souls are awakened. And not all those who are awakened are old souls. But when you get both together, it's magic. Those who would sit in a room like this for the duration that you have to listen to the information, no matter what your chronological age will be, are generally old souls. And the magic is that the information is taken in and acted upon quicker than not. So this is why I sit in front of you. I would like to tell you more about this shift. We're going to label this particular channel the attributes of change. I'm going to start by describing the timing of all things spiritual. You might wonder if Spirit coordinates things with human calendars. It would appear that we do. We talk about 2012, we talk about 2013. I will now reveal to you that these are simply linear compartments that we put things in because this is what you do. It's not always accurate. We talk in generalizations when it comes to the clock for many reasons. There are no absolute timings. Things are driven by human consciousness. The kinds of things we speak of, the attributes of the shift, are driven by the timing of human consciousness shift. And that is unknown by anyone. The parameters all fall within the potential clock that you have. But it's not always that way. Now what I mean by that is that in the middle of what we perhaps thought would happen and be cleared by a certain date may be faster or take longer, depending upon what happens on the planet and the free choice that you have. Now we tell you this so that you will not then someday take a look at prophecy or hold readers to their word that something would happen here or there, they're a year off. You should know that the best reader on the planet can only read the now. And the now is the potential of tomorrow, not the absolute of tomorrow. And so there is what we will call wiggle room for a lot of things. We said that 2013 was the year of calibration. It actually started in 2011. There are many of you who have a longer process than others. It is part of your human design, your timing cycle. that things would take a great deal of time. And some of you are fast. Again, humanity is very, very varied. And so this will then explain why some had this happen and it took forever. And others had something happen like a flash in the pan. Each human being is unique. But the process of this shift is generic. And that is to say, all humanity is involved at a certain time in a certain way. Now let us take a look at the timing of the shift. The absolutes, guided by the ancient traditions and also the astronomy of today, center it around the precession of the equinoxes. And this is why you celebrated the shift when you did. It is why the meetings took place that should have taken place when they did. Because no one knows the true parameters of how human consciousness is going to react to the things around it. What I want to tell you is this. You're sitting here in July of 2014. And I want to tell you, dear ones, this is where it begins. Now, you should have known that if you wanted to look at the potentials of the astronomical attributes in the sky, if you want to look at the astrology, if you want to take a look at the energies put upon the earth and to you individually, collectively, at this point in time, in July, you're going to see something, a confluence of energy that would help the process of clearing and new beginnings. It would have been convenient, would it not, to say that 2014 was the end of the problem. The 2013, December 31st, it was all over. But you're smarter than that, aren't you? You know that your calendar does not necessarily correspond with the energies of the planet. All this to say that some of the issues of 2013 dragged right into the first 6 months of this year. And now for the first time, the clearing actually has begun. So this is the time where we can start talking, perhaps, about change. It's going to be simple. Perhaps the lecture today was complex. This is simple. I want you to take a look at what is going on. We have described this shift before. And we have told you it is very much like retuning into a radio station which has slightly changed its broadcast frequency. And so you're going to have to go over and turn the knob to center it up with the broadcast. We've told you that almost everything is going to feel a little off. Now, depending upon the human being and the setup of the human being, the life lessons, the karma perhaps which was not dropped or dropped, will depend upon the setup of how you're affected. So in this particular case, if you have 100 people, there will be 100 ways that you feel it. And they may be different. But this little off could be in your spirituality, it could be in your relationship, it could be at work, it could be health. It could be how centered you feel in your body. It depends upon this, dear ones, how close is your walk with the spiritual side inside you. How close is that walk? And I will tell you, the closer that walk is, the more you're feeling it. The radio station has moved and it's just a little off. You now are not hearing the music clearly. It's just a little distorted and in the distance, and you're going to have to retune to it. Now that is a metaphor. Don't take it any further than that. And that is now starting to shift. Change. What do you do with it? How do you retune to it? And what is the process? It's difficult to explain, is it not? To 100 human beings, which are all very different, what each one is supposed to do? And we can't. But we can describe what is happening so that you can cognize it and start to work on yourself to center it up. It's interesting how human beings react to change, but specifically this change. Because there's an attribute of this shift that I want to tell you, which is unique on the planet and never has happened before. We have told you about energies coming and going. We have said there's this happening, there's this happening. We've told you about shifts that astrology brings in. You've never had this, dear ones, never. It's a new energy, so new that it's never going to go back. And that means to all of you one thing, and I want you to pay attention. There are several points of this message that I want you to get, and this is one. It will never be the same. Never. And there are human beings instinctively, intuitively waiting for it to return. Because it always has. And it isn't going to. Perhaps in this room or listening, there are healers. Perhaps there are readers, mediums, channelers, who are trying to wait it out. They realize that they have lost something, and they're not really certain what, but it doesn't feel the same. The results are often so different from their readings or their healings that some have actually stopped for a while and are waiting for it to return to normal. And there is no more normal. It is not coming back. And so the invitation should be clear. Get up and find out how to tune to a vibration which you have never tuned to before, but which is there waiting for you to tune to it. Waiting for you, expects it. This is what you were designed for. Your biology is shouting at you. The innate of your body wants you to feel it and know what to do and how to make it operate. So much of it is intuitive consciousness, things that you cannot identify and label to your satisfaction because they don't fit into a numbered list. Intent. Ceremony. It's different for all of you. But it wants to pull upon each one of you as you start to realign to it. This is difficult for a human being to understand. You're so used to pushing the rock uphill that there is something now that is waiting for you, and when you discover it, you'll click right into it and it's back. It's not back, it's just that you are now there where it is. What's interesting, and let me talk about light workers. There are 3 basic reactions that are happening right now to old souls and light workers, specifically in what you would call light work. The healers, the mediums, the intuitives, the channelers. 3 basic reactions. And they're very, very human. You can put yourself in whatever category you want. Number one category, you can't do it. You don't know how, it's too hard, it's not working anymore, so you're going to quit. You may go to another part of light working. You're still going to help human beings, and there's no judgment. You just know you can't do it. Perhaps it's not something you want to do. So you walk away from perhaps decades of doing one thing in order to do something similar that you think is understandable because what you've been doing is not. It's happening. In that, there are variances of degrees. Some will simply alter it a little bit. Some will actually stop and turn their back on God because it's too hard. Maybe some of you know them. The second reaction, how human, complain. A steady stream of complaints gives you an actionable thing to do without having to change. And you'll do it for the rest of your life. It used to be this way. I don't know why it isn't now. I'm trying, I'm wishing, I'm hoping, I'm waiting, I'm complaining, and I always will. And you know I'm right. That's their way of solving the puzzle. A puzzle that has no solution that they can see. Complaining is easier. And the third one, and there's only three, are the old souls and the light workers who are sitting, not knowing what to do and being frustrated. And maybe that's you. There are very few who have grasped it and moved that dial and are complacent with the change. And that's because it has only just begun. It took till July to clear. Now the energy that is coming is commensurate to your intuitive approach to find that station. Did you understand that? In other words, there is a benevolent energy pulling you toward the truth of how to work with it. And every single one of you have a unique energy that's doing that. It's beautiful. What a system that it knows your name. It knows all about the Akash and what you've been through and how many lifetimes you've been and what you're drawn to and where you'll go. What you're called to and where your interests are. It is a new paradigm of dealing with spirit where it knows you, where there's a handshake you never had before, and where you'll know where that new station is, and you'll know the handshake, and you're right where you belong. This is far more personal than it's ever been before. There are mediums and healers and intuitives and channelers that simply read and intuit and channel and heal. And it's been something they do. It's never been personal. And now it can be. Imagine going to a level where each one of these things you do, you'll feel that higher self of you who knows you in touch with you. You'll know you're in the groove. This is new. Now is when the change can begin. You might want to take a look at your astrology. You might want to take a look at the planetary aspects. You might want to take a look at even what the ancients have said. And in the process, you'll know what I'm speaking of. There is a clearing here. This is really the beginning of what could have been in 2014 in January. It just took a little longer. I'm not going to get into the attributes that are happening on the planet. I want to concentrate on you. We don't have a lot of advice. Only to give you the parameters of the fact that the clearing begins now and there's nothing wrong with you if you haven't cleared it yet. And if you've been frustrated, welcome to the club. Because humanity, light workers, and old souls right now are all in this bag. Very few can raise their hands and said, "I've figured it out," because they haven't. I want you to be patient, dear ones. I want you to see this as the beginning of an opening. Now, here is the first advice we have for change. Your body has a way of working, and it always has worked this way. When there is an imbalance, you work on balancing. Easy. But that means you work on bringing it back to where it was. So the intuitive, instinctive thing for the human to do with all change is to try somehow to bring it back to normal. Even if you move your house, you create the same kind of room you had in the last house. Your habits are the same, and you try to reconfigure who you are to the new house. You change professions, jobs, whatever. You try to fit it into the groove that you understand and that you're comfortable in. But it's not going to be that way. You are going to have to redefine normal. And that means it's not coming back. It's not about rebalancing. It's about going someplace else. Literally, in your consciousness and creating a new normal. I want to give you an example of this and how difficult it is. Let us say that you are a world-class surgeon and you work in hospitals and you know what you're doing. And all your life, all you have done in that profession is to help people and save their lives. And this is your passion. You come to the hospital and there are the tools and there's the technology. There's the electronics. There's the mechanics of all of these things. There's the medicine that you understand in order for you to operate on a patient and save their life. One day you wake up and a shift has occurred. You go to the hospital and the tools are different. The electronics are different. You don't know what turns it on now. You don't know how to operate it, calibrate it. The tools are in odd shape. And to make things worse, just when you've tried to figure them out, and you have, you wake up the next day and they changed again. And this is the metaphor of the spiritual healer on this planet who has used the tools of spirit, their intuition, their pineal, and all of the things that they understand so well, the feelings that they have, the energy they have, only to show up, sit in front of another human being, and there's nothing there. You don't have the energy, you don't have the other markers, to use that word, that let you read them and heal them. So here's what I want you to figure out. Here's what truly is going on. There is I'm going to call it a consistency of frequency. You leave the room today and you may get into a certain kind of car. and you're comfortable with your car because you know where everything is. Let's say that you leave the room tomorrow and it's another car. You leave it the next day and it's another car. There would be a frustration, would there not? But here's what I'm telling you. Here's what I want you to understand. Dear ones, this is a simple metaphor. It's the best we have. In the car example, there are consistencies you can count on. The brake is always in the same place. The accelerator is always in the same place. The steering wheel is always in the same place. The things you got to figure out is where are the gears? How do they work? Where's the windshield wiper and the lights? And once you have the peripherals figured out, you can drive it just as well. Imagine, however, that every day that you have a new car, this new car you have to get used to is better than the last one. It's more elegant. It's more comfortable. It lets you drive on the road so much better than you ever had before. But there is a consistency. There's three kinds of people. One who will immediately see the issue and they'll quit. I don't want to learn to drive another car. The second one will complain. This shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening. If they get in car after car and don't understand any of them. And the third kind who will look at it and say, I see the steering wheel's in the same place. I see the gas is in the same place. Now, where is the windshield wiper? I'll figure it out. Which one of those are you? Spirit has given a consistency, and that's the best I can tell you. So that when you get to the place where you understand the minutia of the change, truly, the driving force, the majority, will be identical to what you're used to. And it'll all work the same. So the surgeon is smart. He's figured it out. He walks into the hospital because now he knows that every time he figures out the new tools are going to be better. He's going to save more lives. Now he can hardly wait. He said, I can realign to this. It's only going to take me a moment because I figured it out. The electronics, all I have to do is find out where the new on button is. The tools are shaped a little different because they've improved themselves. All I have to do is figure out what the improvements are. And I can hardly wait. Do you see the attitude difference? Now, who are you? Which one are you? And the only admonition in this shift, in these changes that are only just beginning for you, don't try to figure them out. Because just as soon as you think you did, they're going to move on you. How is it a human being can get used to constant change? Where the thing that you were most satisfied with before was consistency of operation, and now every time you show up, it's a little different. It's a big hurdle. Consistency of operation. With the changes being in what you would call the minutia around it. A reader is always a reader, a healer is always a healer, a channeler is always a channeler, and their tools are getting better. That's the message of the day. There come a time when we'll start describing the tools. Not now. I want you to get used to the shift and the change and what it means. And remember, don't look for anything to return to normal. Normal changes every day when you open your eyes. And so it is.